Hello and welcome to Boston Ramesh channel. Today is day 19 of my ServiceNow Application Developer certification journey. In this video, I will be going through what I've learned in Module 3 of Application Development Fundamentals course offered by ServiceNow. Um, in this module, I have learned what are the different development tools available in the ServiceNow for application development. And then what is the guided application creator, which is a easy to use guided application creator. And then what is the importance of the table schema and how to understand the business logic and how to use and what to make a decision as part of the application development. And then the most important thing that I wanted to record here is how to link a ServiceNow application to a GitLab repository. And then in final, we'll go through how to create application menus and different files using the studio. I started using the Miro application and the mind map tool since my last video, and I really started liking it because it is helping me put together all the key aspects of what I'm learning in every module. And then I'm trying to connect the dots so that I can go back and refer to these mind maps while I'm getting that final step before I take my exam. So for example, in this case, this module, create application and modules. And in here, the module focuses on what are the different tools available in the ServiceNow, and then what kind of decisions that we will take as developer, what kind of a data table options that we have, and then how do we actually look at the application table, what all the different components are there, and then what is an application picker and how to actually connect to a source control. In this case, GitLab is an example for me. So if we look at some of the key items that I have made some notes. So for example, if we go back to what is the key aspects of the ServiceNow application development, define process, and then we look at the data model and then create user interface and then so on and so forth, right? Um, so creating the data model is the key here, right? If we are building any application, we need to know what we are capturing and how we are processing the data and how we are showing the data to the end user, who is the customer. So in this case, the user interface, and then who can access what, and then how do we automate certain steps, and then how do we integrate with other repositories if there is a necessity, and then how do we test it. So this mind map explains that. Now, to achieve these steps in the process of developing application, um, we wanted to see what tools are available. So that's where we are coming into this section. So quickly look at what tools are available. So there are different tools, but some of them are what we are going to use in this module. Guided Application Creator, for the short form GAC. Then we have Application Engine Studio. This is mostly used for citizen development. That means if there is a business problem and a business analyst found it, and we want, if as an administrator, we wanted to enable that business analyst to do some quick development to implement the solution. They can be given access to specific modules or specific areas, and we call them citizen developers. And then once they build it, they go through the approval process, and that particular module can be implemented in the production. So that's where this very useful, friendly application engine studio were used. And then the studio is basically, this is one of the most robust and the most useful for the custom application development. So we'll see that. And then Flow Designer, which is used to create workflows and automation. And then Integration Hub. This is for integrating with the different repositories. Mostly, if we know how to integrate with different repositories using the REST API calls, inbound and outbound API calls, then this is where we are going to put all the information, and this is the Integration Hub. And then Table Builder, where we can create tables, UI Builder, where we can create user interface, forms, creation and so on and so forth. And then process automation designer is to create processes, multiple workflows involved here. And then there are creator workflows. I haven't really learned about creator workflows, but that is a tool available. Now that is about the tools. There are a bunch of tools available. Um, and then application data options. What is the application data? So application data is by name itself. We say this is specific to an application. If you are building a specific application, there will be a specific need. And how do we do that? If we are looking at a custom application development, there are decisions to be made. Do we really need a custom table? Or can we extend an existing table, which is maybe an out of the box table that can be extended? Or just use as is existing table. If there is a table that fulfills the need of this application, why we have to create a new custom table, right? And in this case, if we are trying to extend an existing table, there are benefits to it, right? What is the benefit? You don't have to create modules or forms, the user interface, because when you extend a table, it brings all the configurations. Because when you are extending it, you are inheriting all the properties, and then you will add, additional columns or additional fields that are necessary for the custom, but it will bring all those configurations along with it, including the business rules, client scripts, and so on and so forth. We will see that, right? So that's how these decisions need to be made. And once we have made that decision, what is there in the application table? So application table, as I said, it will have different configurations. The configurations basically business logic on a table, right? Business logic means what should come in, how do they come in, what is the security, and what needs to happen when something happens, right? There is all a the whole application will run based on the business logic. So everything is configured on a table. So let's look at what these are. This is really a big list here, but I believe this is a necessity for us to understand. I believe in the exam, there may be a bunch of questions around this because this is the whole, uh, you know, intelligence behind how the application should work. So on a table, we will see business rules, client scripts, dictionary entries, dictionary entry overrides, notifications, UI actions, access controls, UI policies, styles, view rules, and flows. I mean, not everything is important at every time, but for example, business rules, they are necessary for a certain action. So we have to see what is the client script does. It all depends upon what type of a form we are building. What is a front end user experience that we are trying to build. So the client script will help with that, right? So that is about a business logic on a table, and they will have controls like who can access what is the roles, and then we have columns, how many columns, new columns that we are going to add to a new custom application, then who can access what, and then application record. So this is basically a record that will have all the details about an application, because in ServiceNow, everything is a record. Nothing goes beyond that, right? Everything is a record that is saved as a record. Application files, dependencies, cross-scope privileges, design access, restricted color access privilege, everything is a record, and that is stored as an application record. So here, when we create an application, there may be a bunch of applications that we end up creating. But in ServiceNow, when you choose to do some modifications in the future, this application picker is the one where we go and say what application that I'm going to work on. Then we have to change that application in the application picker so that you have the ability to modify files in that application, specific application. And then source control, obviously, this is where if the ServiceNow uh, code has to be managed in some other external repository, then we will integrate that with a proper mechanism, GitLab or GitHub. And then there are steps how to access that. That means you need to have certain credentials. Then you do create those credentials in the integration hub. And then you can use access token as a password. That is the one that I've learned as part of it. And then branches and then stash changes, which is a critical aspect of it. Probably in this video, I'm not really going to be able to explain exactly what is stash changes, but I can just definitely touch upon it. All right, so there are 3 labs I need to complete in this module. The first one is create an application using guided application creator, and the second one is connect to a GitLab repository, and the third one is create application modules. So I will start with the first one, which is create an application using guided application creator. Because it will take definitely a long time, so I'm going to just to speed up this video while I'm creating it so you can watch it, or you can do a slow motion for that. But otherwise, I will stop talking about it and focus on building it so you can watch me doing it. Now the next lab number 2 is about linking the ServiceNow application to an external repository, a source control repository. In this case, it is a GitLab. So I have created a account with GitLab, which is now we call it Boston Ramesh application. That is the project I have created. Now I will try to connect my scoped application that I have created in the ServiceNow with this GitLab. So let's see how it goes. So the next step in this process is to get the link to my GitLab application that is available under the code, which is there will be SSH link as well as HTTPS link. So I'm going to take that HTTPS link to use in the ServiceNow. Now I come back to the ServiceNow application, and then under the integration hub, as we have seen, this is where we have created a lot of integration related items. One is connections and credentials. So there I'm going to use the credentials. Here I'm going to create a new credential which will be used for the GitLab. After clicking that new, I'm going to select the basic auth credentials because that is what we needed for the GitLab connection. All right, so I have used the basic auth credentials, and I got my username from the GitLab and the password. So you can actually use the access token as a password. Not necessarily you have to use the real password that you use to log into the GitLab. So that is a very convenient one. So let's see if this works for me. So now I'm back to the studio where my application is opened, which is a Boston Ramesh application. And here we will look at under the source control. So we need to link to the source control, click on that, and the URL. So I'll need to give the URL, credential, we have the GitLab, I will give the GitLab, and then the branch, I'm going to use the main branch because that is the main branch right now I have here. I don't have the master branch, which usually, nowadays we just avoid using the master as anything for betterment of the language. And then main, and then we don't really used to use anything with server name here, default email. These are not mandatory. So the only mandatory thing is URL and credentials. So I'm going to complete that and then link to the source control. I see there is a failure. The user only has read access to repo. Make sure the user has both read and write access. So I'm going to go and then apply that and come back and see what happens. So instead of using the guest as my profile for the access token, I have used the maintainer or the owner. So that way I have all the access to update the artifacts in the GitLab from the ServiceNow application. So now it is successful. I linked successfully. Now by doing that, if you see on here, on the lower right hand here, I see the GitLab is linked to the ServiceNow. So that's what it says. No local or remote changes, but it is linked. Now, if you see in the lower left right here, Boston Ramesh loaner request, there are 13 files. This is the list of the 13 files that is list. There is no change here. If I change something, then it will say there is any number of changes that are unsaved. So that's where it comes. So if you go back here and look at this and see if I can just refresh this a little bit. Now we can see this information here. So whatever the service now just pushed all those initial changes. There are like 13 files, right? So all those changes are right here. These are all the XML files. ServiceNow manages all the items in the XML file. So if I just open that one, if you see there's a custom applications, my loaner request app, and then this is the application related information and whatever that is required to have this display values, Boston Ramesh loaner request, and so on and so forth. So that is the information that is stored. So this will conclude our lab to connect to a GitLab, and it will probably still the same thing for the GitHub, but I probably will do a separate video for that. But once you look at this source control, If you want to create a new branch for any new changes, this is where we'll go. We'll create a new things and then we can do from there. Now let's move on to the lab number 3, configure application menu, create files and commit changes. I hope this is a short lab, but let me see if I can get it done fast. Let's quickly look at what is the navigation that was created by default when we first created the application. So under the navigation, we have application menu, which is Boston Ramesh loaner request. So this is basically giving us the application menu. So Boston Ramesh request, and then it has roles, which is this one that was created as part of the graded application creator, and then the usual stuff here. And then what we have modules. These modules are connected to this main application called Boston Ramesh loaner request. So all is one thing, and then closed, create new loaner request, open, and then open and assign. So loaner request is nothing but the table name that we have created. Usually every table has its own what we call a form view. That's what it is all about. Title is loaner request application menu is this one, and then link type is a separator. So for example, if we go here, let's see what is this application menu looks like. It's called Boston Ramesh, so let's just type in. It doesn't have anything. So loaner request. So I'm not able to see what is the the application request. Let's see if it is a request. I'm not able to see this one as well. I don't see my application here. Let's see why it is not showing up. So I just refreshed the screen here, and then I think it looks like it is not automatically refreshed. So once I refresh the page, then now I'm able to see the Boston Ramesh loaner request and the modules that were listed in here. Boston Ramesh loaner request and all the modules that are under this particular application. So right here I have create new, and then we have create new is basically that comes by default. We have configured the table to start with LOA, and then it should start with 2000 as the default starting value, and then that means it will start with 2001. And we are talking about the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we said that we should have 6 numbers after the LOA. That's where it started. And then all the items that you see on this form, this is extended from the task table. So whatever the form configurations that were there on the out of the box task table came by default. So as I said before, this is an easy way to extend an existing table because it comes with all the configurations. That means the UI is also available, so that's easy for us. So create new, any record, create new, any existing record that is open. So if you have something that you have already created, then the open would be the one that would open the items that were created if we did. But if you see in the open, because there were no new items created in the loaner request table, so it shows empty. And then open and assign, it will be the same thing. Closed, everything is the same because now there were no records, and all is also same. Alright, so just for the quick loaner request here, I'll go back. So if you see, there is a link type separator, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's where you have given the sequence, or what we call the priority, when it is showing up here. If you see, this is what's the sequence of it, and if we change it, it will automatically change there as well. As per the lab, I have just updated the order here. You see, this one goes up and this one goes down, so the all will go up and closer should come down. So once I just saved this, I'm going to update it, and once I update it, I'll go back here. If you see, the all is listed at the end of this list. Let's see what happens when I click on this. Now I refreshed it. Now you see the sequence has been changed. This all module item moved up, and then closed moved down. So that is how you change the order here, that is part of the lab. The next step in this lab is to create groups. So under the user administration, I'll click on the groups and then I will create a new group for this application. So I clicked on the new in the groups and then created a loaner request users group. And I'm going to click on the save because I wanted to add roles to this group, because if you update it, then it will close it and you have to reopen it. So I wanted to just stay on this. I'm going to create a couple roles as per the lab. So when I click on that edit and come here, so I see X underscore is basically represents any application, any scoped application, any custom application that starts with X underscore. And in this case, my application is Boston Ramesh application, loan request, that is the table name. So I'm going to select this one because this is a group that was created, and then I'm going to click the save. So now after refreshing it, I can see the new role is added, all the role is added to the group that was created, loaner request users. Now I will add a user to this group. So because we have changed some thing in the application, like adding groups as well as changing the order of the modules, so we need to commit these changes to the GitLab. So I'm going to the ServiceNow Studio and then source control. Because now I wanted to update, then I'm going to commit the changes. I'm going to click on the commit changes. And I'm going to select all the files that were changed, because these are the modules that were updated with the order number. So I'm going to update it. So I'm going to say what is the when we are committing it, if we can just make a note of it so we know exactly what updates were pushed through this commit into the GitLab. So my comment here would be updated ordering of modules in the scope application. That's it, simple as it is. Commit. Then it should commit to the GitLab. Alright, so all the changes were successfully committed to the GitLab main branch. Now whatever the changes that we do in the future, we need to create a new branch and push those changes to the main branch. That's a wrap up of this video. I hope you found this video useful, informative in your own ServiceNow journey. Please join me in my next video on day 20 with a new module in my journey. If this series helps you, please like and subscribe to the Boston Ramesh channel. Until then, have a good day. Bye for now.